Hello everybody, Maven here, and today we're going over the latest and greatest DPS exotic, the Speedloader Slacks for Hunter. So a lot of people are saying it's just a clone of Dragon Shadow. It's Dragon Shadow's little brother. But the Speedloader Slacks can actually do something that the Dragon Shadow wishes it could do. It is a boss melting machine, and I will show you how. So stay tuned for a full breakdown for a build I made of this exotic, and also be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed. Let's get to it. So the Speedloader Slacks says that dodging is going to boost your reload speed, handling, and airborne effectiveness for both you and your nearby allies. And while the buff is active, final blows and additional dodges will extend the duration of this effect and put it at a greater degree, stacking up to 5 times. I'll put a little screenshot from Light.gg of the values here, so it's a pretty significant amount of stat boosts. Now, out of everything this exotic has to offer, the one thing we care about here is the bonus to weapon handling. That's going to allow us to do double slug hot swapping. Now, double slug hot swapping is what a lot of the sweaty speedrunners do in a lot of situations to melt bosses as quickly as possible. But the reason that most raid teams and most people in general don't use this technique is because it is difficult to do. It used to be easy using a technique called sprint canceling, and that's still how you do it today. However, the inputs for it are a lot more tight. So only the very sweatiest of Destiny 2 players are capable of doing it. Now, I'll show a little demonstration of using double slugs. You shoot one, swap to the other, shoot that one, and just swap back and forth, and this is going to allow you to fire off a lot of slug shots without having to reload. However, if you're just shooting your slugs at the normal firing rate that they are meant to, it's not really hot swapping, it's not really worth it. So you want to speed up the handling of these weapons so that you can fire these slugs at a faster rate than normal. And this is possible in a few different ways. There's either just using slugs that generally have extremely high handling, like for example, my Heritage here has 95 handling, and my Inquisitor here has 100 handling, so that is going to allow me to double slug hot swap. Another way is by being on a solar subclass and using the on your mark aspect, so when you dodge you immediately get 3 stacks of on your mark that gives you massive weapon handling. And another way is the aforementioned Dragon Shadow, that is going to allow you to have crazy high handling after dodging. That'll allow you to double slug hot swap with any slugs, it doesn't matter how poor the handling is. And another way is going to be via the Ophidian aspects on Warlock, which boosts weapon ready speed. And if you pair that with dexterity mods in your gloves as well, your handling is just through the roof and it's very effective. Now, what makes Speedloader Slacks more significant than all of these options? Well, there's actually 2 things. The first thing is that you can extend the duration of your stat boost forever just by simply getting kills, and the buff lasts a long time, like 15 seconds. You know, with the Dragon Shadow, the buff doesn't last as long, and eventually it's going to run out and you're going to have to wait for your dodge to recharge again to get your bonus handling, so it's definitely not as user-friendly. Now, the second and most important reason why Speedloader Slacks is more significant than all these other options to double slug hot swap is because it spreads that buff to all of your allies as well if you dodge near them. And this is going to allow everybody on your fire team to do double slug hot swapping for like a raid boss encounter or a dungeon boss encounter or a strike boss encounter, whatever you're doing. So it's going to be very good for benefiting the whole team, and so they don't have to use things like Dragon Shadow and Ophidian aspect. You can be the one with it, and then you could have the Warlock on the team place a well and have Lunafaction boots so that your slug shotguns have crazy high range. And that's going to make it so you can do some heavy DPS from like 15 to 20 meters instead of having to be right in their face. So I'll show a little example here. Here's from my teammates' perspective. They are double slug hot swapping at the fastest rate that they can, but when I go to dodge, suddenly they can do it a lot quicker. Now, with all that explanation out of the way, let's go over which slug shotguns you should be using. So firstly, the most important perk on a slug here is going to be Assault Mag. Assault Mag is going to increase your DPS because, you know, there's still a cooldown between when you can fire. So even if you're swapping really quickly, sometimes you may not be able to fire on time. So having Assault Mag is very key here. Now, for your kinetic option, I would highly recommend a Heritage with Reconstruction. Reconstruction is going to be a very important perk because it lets you have a ton of ammo in your magazine, making it so your sustained DPS goes up a lot more. And for your next column, recombination is going to be the best option to nuke majors. You know, there's no other better perk in this column. And then for your energy slug shotgun, I'm using the Philo, the classic auto-loading holster Vorpa weapon rule, but there is a better option. The Nessa's Oblation is the brand new Root of Nightmares raid shotgun, and it is going to be revolutionary for double slug hot swapping builds because it also has reconstruction. So when you have that proc, you got 12 in the magazine. Your heritage will also have 12 in the magazine, allowing you to shoot off 24 slug shots in one DPS phase before having to go reloading. And that is a big improvement over pairing it with a 6 ammo slug like the Philo, for example. So having 2 reconstruction shotguns is going to just be absolutely insane. Now, I have fluted barrel with the handling masterwork to get up to 94 handling because you want to swap as quick as you can, but seeing as how Speedloader is going to give you 40 handling, you don't really need that. You can even run like full bore if you wanted, and it could still work out. But that's like specifically for the Speedloader builds. I would still go with fluted anyways. But yes, once this is available as the Adept drop from Root of Nightmares, you definitely have to farm it like crazy. Once you unlock it, you can buy more of them from the end chest, so make sure you farm some spoils from Nezarec and buy a ton of them. So because the Speedloader Slacks makes double slug hot swapping very, very easy and accessible, you can just use it during general play. Now, normally it's a very niche thing to do for like damage phases, but you can just use it generally now because of the Speedloaders. And because these are 2 very close range options, you can pair them with a machine gun for your long range option and for your ad clear. And remember, when you're using double special in Destiny 2, you get more heavy drops, and vice versa. You get heavy kills, you get more special drops. So they work well with each other. And also note that when you're using this build, you should have a tractor cannon at the ready to swap to right away for a DPS phase for a 30% debuff if you do not have your tether charged. Now, speaking of tether, I did indeed decide to go on Void. However, the Speedloader does allow you to use double slug hot swapping on anything. It doesn't have to be just solar. So I decided on Void because tether is going to be very good for DPS with your double slugs. And also, if you do not have your tether, you can still debuff the target via your smoke bomb or Echo of Undermining for a 15% debuff. And also on Void, it's going to be real good to go invis so you can get up in a fat target's face and start double slug hot swapping them, because it's kind of difficult to approach big fat targets with any other subclass, but going invis is basically free. Now, one could argue that solar could still be better because you can become radiant to buff your damage, so you don't technically need a debuff. And when you pair that with tractor cannon, you're technically getting more damage than you can with Void. And also at the same time, you got healing grenades, so you can be up in the target's face. And when you're starting to get stomped out and getting low on health, you just proc that healing and you're good to go. So it's really up to you which one you want to use, but I figured Void is very good this season, also because of the artifact. You got Volatile Flow, Bricks from Beyond, and Void Weapon Channeling, so generally Void is just super strong right now. Also, when you think of an ad clear machine gun too, come to mind Corrective Measure and the Commemoration. And since you have like a 100% uptime of volatile rounds this season, these are just very, very strong options. However, you still got a good option on solar because the Unwavering Duty is also a very good option. So now let's actually break down the build itself. So you're going to want to invest 100 in mobility because, you know, your dodges matter, and then invest 100 in resilience if you can, because that's very important for PvE. This is the most I can go because I'm refusing to masterwork these trash Speedloaders until I get a better pair, so I'm farming GMs for that. And then invest as much in discipline as you can because this is also a grenade spam build. So the reason that this is a grenade build is because we're taking full advantage of Echo of Starvation. Because of the amount of orbs we generate now, it's going to be very easy to have Devour all the time. And when you have Devour, not only do your final blows fully heal you, which is very strong for PvE, but also when you defeat enemies, you are granted grenade energy when you have Devour. And that is very strong when pairing it along with Corrective Measure with Demolitionist Adrenaline Junkie, so you get even more grenade regen from Demolitionist, and you just spam so many grenades back to back to back. So the way that we are generating orbs is via Reaper on our class item. So when we dodge, our next kill is going to make an orb. We got Firepower, so our nades make orbs. We got Void Siphon, so our machine gun double kills will make orbs. The amount of orbs you generate with this build is just absolutely ridiculous, and they're just going to full heal you, give you ability energy back via Absolution, via Innervation. And because our grenades matter so much, we got Bomber on our class item, so dodging refunds some nade energy, and also melee energy via Outreach. Same thing with the Momentum Transfer. Our nades will generate melee energy, so we get more smoke bombs, get more weaken effects. We get refunded grenade energy immediately by using grenade kickstart as well, consuming our armor charge for even more. And then we even have heavy ammo finder and special ammo finder on our helmet. These are pretty replaceable, so you can use whatever you'd like. They're not the most effective things in the world. Speaking of ammo, another thing I considered running is you could replace Absolution for stacks on stacks. You can replace Solar Resistance for charged up, and that would allow you to replace Outreach with Special Finisher, and that would give you more shotgun ammo a lot more efficiently if you find yourself running out of shotgun ammo a lot. And then I have melee resistance on my chest, allowing me to tank more hits when I'm in the face of a fat enemy that's stomping me when I'm double slugging them. And I have solar resist because it's a pretty common, element. And then I got a copy of Void Scavenger and Void Reserves, one of each. The reason that I have these is because it's going to be good for my Void machine gun, but also I am assuming that you have a Nessa's Oblation. I do not, but when you're running Nessa's, which is also Void, that's going to be double Void weapons, so having the Scavenger and the Reserves is going to be very good for those. And I also wanted to mention that Finder bricks normally suck, but when you pair them with a Scavenger, you actually scavenge a pretty good amount of ammo, so that makes the Finder worth it. So that is going to wrap up the build. As always, I'll have a dim link to it down below in the description if you would like to try it out for yourself. And let's wrap it up here. So I really wish that I could have recorded some DPS numbers for you guys with double slugs. However, I do not know how people do that, unfortunately. I'm pretty new to YouTube. I've only been doing this for 11 months, so maybe one day I'll figure out how to calculate DPS. So the gameplay loop here: slay out with the machine gun, throw tons of nades, have volatile rounds constantly, have Devour constantly healing you, and then keep on dodging to proc bomber, proc outreach. And when you see a fat enemy, either tether them, depending on if they're really big, or you can smoke bomb them or nade them, because those will also give them a 15% debuff, and go to town with your double slugs. It's a very, very effective build for a lot of situations. It's probably one of the strongest hunter builds that I've ever made. So obviously I do not have the Nessa's Oblation right now, but when I do, it is on. This is going to be incredibly strong. One of the best things you can do on hunter. I'd highly recommend giving it a try. And next time you are going into a dungeon encounter or a raid encounter or whatever it may be, against an enemy that has a very big crit or is a very close range boss, I would highly recommend trying this out with your teammates, because it's literally free to do. They don't have to be good at double slug hot swapping because your Speedloader does it all for them. Just remember to make sure that one of your teammates is a warlock with Lunafaction boots, because that helps a lot for the range of your slugs. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and drop a comment, because interacting with the video in different types of ways like that really helps it out and helps the algorithm. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Would love to have you here. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.